So Xander is just over 15 months old, and I have to say that yesterday he took off walking. Or at least I think he did, but then this morning he was like crawling again, so maybe he forgot. So hopefully by the end of today he'll be back to his walking again. Anyway, it's crazy because it really does just seem like yesterday that we welcomed him into our family, June a year ago. And now, of course, I just can't even imagine my life without him. And I also can't figure out what I was doing the whole time with just Branson in the house, because life feels pretty busy now with those two boys, and we love them very much. But even on the evenings when I'm like really tired out, just looking at another pile of dirty laundry or sink full of dirty dishes, usually we don't get to a whole sink full of dirty dishes, but there's often like a counter full. Even with all that, I really wouldn't trade it for the world. Well, that's the being a mom part, not the dirty dishes. So anyway, I was sorting through Xander's baby clothes because, of course, he's grown like crazy and he's busting out even out of his, 12-month-old stuff. Anyway, I ended up with this huge mound of really cute little pants and t-shirts and socks that are too small for him, obviously, and also his baby blankets that he doesn't use anymore. Most of the stuff is actually in pretty nice condition and could easily be used by someone else. I usually, as I probably explained before in my other videos, I usually pass like the nicest clothing on to other families who have a baby that would fit into them. But there aren't many families at the Mount who are having babies at the moment. So I was thinking that instead of filling up my closets, there must be other people who could use them. So at the same time, Chris and I were thinking back over the last year with COVID and all the awfulness and tragedy on so many levels in our society. And despite all of that, how blessed and protected our little family has been through it all. And we were reminded of the early Christians who have always been a big inspiration to us, and how it was said that of them that no one around them was ever in need. And why was this? It's because they took care of their neighbors. Anyway, I found out about Faith House, which our communities have supported both financially and practically over the last few years. In fact, a friend of mine volunteers there every Tuesday afternoon. It's a big ranch-style house. It's about a 40-minute drive from our home. And their mission is to be a safe place for women who might otherwise consider having an abortion, and to give them a place to call home for up to a year after the birth of their baby. So Chris and I decided that this would be like just a really great place to drop off Xander's baby clothes. But actually, thinking about it a little bit more probably isn't actually all that original. So instead, I decided to do something that's maybe, more from the heart, more from a place of the heart. That doesn't really make sense, but anyway, I decided to do a painting for them. So I am currently working on a painting, and it is, I don't want to talk too much about it because I'm going to post a picture of it at some point, but what I want to show in it is how much a mother loves a child and how much emotion and so on is in it. And I think in speaking with somebody who volunteers there, and she's volunteered in other places as well, but she says, and while it is important, often the baby is focused on, but then she says it's important to focus on the mothers. So I kind of want the mother to be the important part of my painting. So we'll see how it all goes. Anyway, another idea that I had is I'm also going to see if I can get my grandmother, who is always knitting, to drop off some of the blankets that she makes, because she's really good at knitting and really enjoys it. So we'll see what we can manage to do to support and help out with Faith House. So while I was learning about Faith House and all the work that they're doing there, I was also sober to learn that every day worldwide there are 83,000 abortions, with 1,200 of those in our country alone. So those are staggering numbers, and I find it really hard to think of all those babies, each one a thought from God, from the moment of conception. So there's this beautiful verse from Psalms, which probably many of you are familiar with, but it goes something like, "You created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made." And then later on it says, "Your eyes saw my unformed body, and all the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." So I believe that each child is sacred and innocent, no matter what the circumstances of their conception or the prognosis for their physical and mental development. I know I've said this before on this video blog, but I have an older brother named Stephen who lived for just one day, and he was my parents' first child. So before Stephen was born, there was not really any indication that anything was wrong with him, but my mom has always said that even if she had known that he would only live for a couple of hours, or had she known that he would have suffered, or if she would have known how painful it would have been to say goodbye, despite all of those factors, she and my dad never for 1 second would have considered an abortion. And although I never knew Stephen, he always has been and always will be a very special part of our family, and we think of him as a little messenger from God to us. So I find it really hard to think of all the children who are lost through abortion every year, and I believe that abortion is wrong. But I know many mothers are in incredibly difficult situations because of economics or family or health, especially when they don't have a committed husband or family or community. So I don't think it's right for me to say that what they're doing is wrong unless I'm also doing something to address the very real need of those mothers and the root cause of that need in our society. I mean, obviously, I can't solve this problem, but I can try to pay back the love and support my family has received by showing that love to others, including through other organizations that support families and children, and to the people I live with right here. One of the most important gifts of living in community is how we can join together to support parents in caring for each child from birth all the way to adulthood. So each young couple who marries in our communities does so with the commitment that they are open to the gift and the responsibility of welcoming children. And we believe that this is one of the central God-given purposes of marriage. And this also means putting our convenience and comfort as adults second to the care of children. But I knew long before my sons were born that they would be welcomed and loved, not just by Chris and me, but by our whole community. And I also knew that I would be supported throughout the pregnancy and birth of both my boys, and that I could take time off from work after my baby was born, and that once he's old enough, there would be an excellent childcare in place so that I could return to work. And on the top of all this, if it can't get better than that, I never once worried about paying the hospital bills or buying Pampers or getting my laundry done or meals prepared. And these are very practical ways that parents and children are cared for. The support of the community is especially important for children with special needs. Recently, a good family friend of ours, they had a little girl who was born just a few weeks before Xander. So right around Christmas of last year, her parents found out that she has a really rare brain condition, and one that was already at the time causing her to have seizures and interfering with her development, and that could even end her life before she reaches adulthood. And this was incredibly devastating news for them and their whole family, and for the whole community. But from the moment they got the diagnosis, our community here and the community where they live rallied around them to support them. And this child's mother has been relieved of her duties teaching at our high school. Our community's physical therapist is already making frequent home visits, as well as other professional help. So in so many situations, we've discovered that when the community shares the burden of caring for a child with a disability, not only does it make it possible for the family to manage the care for their child, but those who support this care have themselves benefited from the experience. Not only are families relieved of the economic worries because we all share our resources, but they know they will have practical daily support from people who also love their children. So I'm thankful for all of that, and going forward, I'm just going to keep looking out for ways to help, because in the end I know that I and the other women and families who live in my community are just super lucky and privileged. And this is a real fruit and purpose of Christian community, that it takes away the occasion for abortion because children are going to be wanted and loved and welcomed, and because their mothers are going to be supported. I just only wish that we could extend this model to the whole world. I know it sounds like kind of a crazy thought, but there it is. But until then, any of us who are serious about battling abortion should be working to strengthen marriages and families by fighting for better daycare, stronger policies for maternity leave, and greater financial security and opportunity for women of childbearing age. So I feel pretty strongly about this, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time.